all lie, but I can't. I be laughing all the way to the bank.
What's going down? It's your boy CP. Got my dog T-Rod with me. Shots with Shooter. Definitely wanted to join in on this episode. I wanted to get his opinion. I'm gonna ask him. I think I've already talked to you about it, but it's a controversial topic. It was, real viral on Instagram, on all the social media not too long ago. I was just talking to a cousin of mine and his wife about it. So my question for you and your perspective that I was looking on is the topic of a scenario of what would you do if you were on a boat, whatever happened, and your wife was drowning and your child was drowning, and you had to make a choice. Matter of fact, let's rephrase this first. If you were drowning and your child was drowning, and your wife had to save you or your child, who would you expect her to save and why?
I would expect her to save my child.
And why?
I've lived a full life. I want to give my child the opportunity to live their life to the fullest. So yeah, I would make that sacrifice. But I believe as a man, we're supposed to make those kind of sacrifices, right? I'm not speaking for anybody else, and obviously everybody's gonna have a different viewpoint on this topic. But for me personally, I would tell my wife to save my child for sure.
Now,
Yeah.
outside of telling her, what do you think your wife would do?
I think that she would do what I asked her to do.
I'm saying outside of telling her, if it was her normal reaction to say you or y'all child, this would be y'all child together, what would she do?
She would save my child.
Yeah, right. Now, other way around, if you was on the boat and your wife and your child was drowning, who would you save?
I would save my child
And why is that?
because I would want to give my child a chance at life. And I believe that my wife would agree with that notion that if we had a child together, that saving the child would be the best thing to do. Absolutely.
All right.
But that's, once again, like I said, that's us. And, for each his own. I've seen this video, I've seen the different responses, and obviously they vary, right? But yeah, that's just me and mine and how we look at things. Yeah.
So I'm gonna give, before I give my perspective, I talked to my cousin earlier, and I talked to my homeboy too. So my cousin happened to be in the car with his wife, and I asked them both. So I asked her if she had to save her husband or the child. Who would she save? She said she would save the child, and he would have to drown. And then I asked him in reverse. I'm like, who would you save, your wife or your child? He's like, I don't know, man. He was like, at first he was like, my wife. And he was like, I don't know. It's a touchy thing, right? You don't necessarily want to say the wrong thing, but he was like, he's like, we can make another child. Like, that was his first reaction, like kind of being funny, but and then his son was actually in the car with him too, so that was even funnier. He was like, he said he know what he's saying. He would save his wife. He would save his mom. I've ran across several people. I got a buddy of mine, and he said that he would expect his wife to save him. He said, why should my other children have to suffer because I'm gone? He said, if I go, I'm the king of the castle. If I go, everything tumbles and falls down with me. And, why should my other kids have to suffer? Now, I told him, I said, really, to me, it sounds like this is a selfish response. He's like, we can make another kid. I'm like, CP, we can make another kid, though. I'm like, you can make another kid, but it won't be that kid. But I feel like that's a selfish response. Because for me, but my answer, and I'm going to go back to elaborate on him, is if my wife was drowning, or if I was drowning and my wife had to choose me or my kid, she better choose my kid. I only would pick my wife based off of someone who would know how to respond in my response. If someone really knows you and truly knows you and they know your heart and, y'all spent that time together, they know what to expect from you. It's like if someone says something, if someone told someone that I said something that seems out of character of me or I did something out of character, my niggas or whatever would not believe me. Why? Because with me, I'm so consistent, you know what to expect out of me, right? So you know that I wouldn't do something like that, or you know what I would go for, what I wouldn't go for. Chauncey ain't going for that, it's up, or whatever the case, right? So my wife knows how to respond in that fashion. if my wife chose to save me without, and say, say we unconscious, and it's no, I can't tell her no, get the kid. For me, and my wife tried to save me, I'd swim away. Like, you would have no choice but to get the kid. But my wife would know who to save. And if we were unconscious, and she could only save one, and I woke up and she let my kid die, bitch might as well die with him. You know what I'm saying? At that point, like, I would, like, if I didn't kill you for it, for letting my child die, you know what I'm saying? If I didn't get violent for it or whatever, if I loved you too much, but my disregard for you would grow so huge. My
Contempt.
My contempt, or another word I'm looking for is
Resentment.
my resentment for you would be so great. I mean, it would be over. We couldn't be together. I couldn't look at you and know that. First of all, I couldn't breathe if my child was not breathing. That's just me. I can't breathe if my kid was not breathing. So if I already can't breathe without my child, and then I know that you let my child die, you might as well be dead too. I might as well be dead, because we wouldn't be nothing. Now you done lost us both, because you probably will never hear from me again, talk to me. I would punish you for an existence. So my wife would know to save the child. Like you said, I lived a full life. I don't understand the concept of this. Hold on, let me fix this camera too. It's bothering me that it's more on my side than yours. You need to be more centered. Anywho, it would bother me that they didn't do that. And my thing, that I don't understand is, once we have a child, we owe a duty to a child. We spend our whole life sacrificing for a child. You mean to tell me that everything you do in your life, sacrificing your own, clothes, food, everything, to make sure that this child has it all? You go to work, you do everything from when they're small toddlers, want to make sure if they fall, they don't bust their head. You're doing everything, you're going out of the way to catch them. You know what I'm saying? You're making sure you plug the sockets so they don't electrocute themselves, making sure they don't get hit by cars. Everything you do is sacrificing to protect them. When it comes down to life or death, you mean to tell me after everything you would let your kid die? Like, what would be the point? You're talking about a child that didn't even ask to be here in the world. You brought this kid in the world, so you owe a duty to them, even past their adult age, to sacrifice for them. Now, I'm not saying that they should live at home with you forever and you're financially responsible, but as a parent, unless you just have a child that just don't give a fuck and fucking up and just not taking advantage of any of the help and just, not being them. But as a parent, like, you're always gonna want to be in a position where if your child fell on a hard time, they could use you and regroup. You could be able to pay their rent for them. You could do whatever you need to do so that they can get on their way, as long as they're applying themselves, right? So letting your kid die, you've already done all the things in life that most of the things you're inspired to do, or just you got a chance to live. Like, I'm 38 years old. I've lived 38 good years already, right? And this kid is only 7, 8, 9, 10. They got a whole life ahead of them that they didn't, all the simple pleasures in life that they didn't get to experience, that I've already experienced. Like, no child should be buried before their parent, God willing. A child is supposed to bury their parent. A parent should not bury their child. So for me, a parent should be willing to sacrifice. Because what is life like looking at your child in the casket if you can't help it? How can you live with yourself? How can you breathe every day? How can you continue to function knowing that I let my child down? You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day.
It's an interesting
concept. Imagine getting fired from your job, and your child, you got promises you made to your child, and how you would just feel for that. And like, I let my kid down today. I did some shit I shouldn't do, and now we lacking. Now we can't pay the rent. Imagine how that feels. I let my child down.
It's interesting. It's an interesting concept, because at one point in time in history, people actually had more children because the mortality rate was so high that you would possibly lose your child between birth and maybe 1 or 2 years old. So people would have a number of children for not even just that reason, but we grew up in more rural farm communities, and they actually had more children to help out around the house and help out with the family duties. But also because the mortality rate was so high. So to actually be in a place to where we are asking this kind of question about whether we would let our child die or let our wife die or our husband die is interesting to me. But I think it speaks a lot to the personality of an individual too, who, would choose the latter on that when they say, hey, um, I would rather live than let that child live, and that's not even the judgment. It's just, I got more questions. You know what I'm saying? I got a lot more questions on that one.
But there's plenty individuals that say that they love their spouse more. And I get the concept of this, like once a child is grown, they leave and they start their own family, and you're still with this person. So, in the grand scheme of things of, do I put my husband first or my wife first over my child because we're married and this person is going to grow up and they are my child? Why does the husband eat first and all that? But when people bring up that topic and they bring up like religiously, biblically or whatever, that the man's the head and all that stuff and she should choose me. But it ain't even just like, my wife needs to know to choose me. But even then, sacrifice versus respect, those are still two different things. Out of respect, your man should eat first. Out of respect, you should, your husband's the king of the house and the crown. But the king didn't sacrifice the prince so that the king can continue to live. The prince was the legacy. So the prince needed to live so that he can lead the family on into the next generation and keep the kingdom strong. It was never in reverse. And that's what I was telling a buddy of mine. And the other thing is, even when he said that the kingdom's going to fall apart if I die, why should my other kids suffer? Again, if you felt that, that's why I felt it was selfish. Because if you felt that about your wife, why would you pick her? Because if you're not, what does that say about your leadership individually? If you pick a wife, you should be grooming her in case of your demise, that she can hold down the kingdom until the prince can rise and become the king, right? But if you got a job, you know what I'm saying, and you handling business, y'all should have a home eventually, together. Y'all should have a home, a house, you accrue an equity that you're paying on, and you should have, insurance on your own life, having life insurance. And your job automatically provides you with like a minimum like $30,000 to $60,000, depending on the job, but like minimum is like $30K. But then you pay for extra insurance policies through your job, which is only, $10, $9, whatever the hell, depending on the coverage. So then, the average person with a job should have, between the guaranteed insurance your job provides for you in case of your demise, the added insurance would be around $200,000-$300,000. Is usually average what somebody would add. Y'all should be saving. Your wife should be equipped to be able to work and do what she needs to do to hold down the household in your demise. If you're not leading a woman who, if you die tomorrow, wouldn't know how to pay the bills and take care of things and continue on with the kids, then your leadership is questionable, in my opinion.
What's the internet have to say? Have you looked at the comment section of any of these? Because I'm guessing this is something that's on Instagram, or
it seems
it's
like
a question
more
that's been posed on Instagram, Facebook, places like that. What is the comment section saying?
Most people are saying that they would choose their child. You do have probably 3/10 of every person. 3/10 of all 10 people, are probably saying, say 30% are saying we would save our spouse, right? Which to me is just a more either selfish people. Like, I can never love a woman or a person more than I love my own child. I just can't. Whether that's the way it's supposed to be biblically, if you believe in God, Christian, Catholic, whatever, biblically what it's supposed to be. Your wife is supposed to come first. I'm not saying my wife don't come first before the child. But I am saying that I could never love anybody more than my own blood, my own creation that I have. And if you want to talk biblically, God loves his creation more than he loves anything else. That's why the angels was jealous. And he created them too, but they were jealous of mankind, biblically speaking, right? So if you love your creation so much that you sent your only begotten son to die for your creation, right? So that they can be forgiven for all the sins they committed, if you're speaking biblically. Your children are are worth the sacrifice. If Jesus sacrificed for the children of God, right, which would be man, how do you not sacrifice for your own child if you want to stay biblically speaking? Not just, out of respect, you put your husband first because that's your husband, that's your king, that's your whatever. But I just wanted to get your perspective on it and give my perspective, because I'm definitely going to clip it up and put it out there. But it's still a topic that I like to just, pick people's brain on. It's no true right or wrong answer. You can look at people however you want to after talking to them about it, but I wouldn't say there's any true right or wrong answer to this. It's just based off of, you can say your integrity, your thought process, or the selfishness. Some people, they could say it's out of, I don't want to make my family suffer, but really you just don't want to die.
It's a number of motivations, right?
Right.
A number of reasons, and we can't really say what a person's true motivations are behind their decision making. Mortality is an interesting thing, and people do oftentimes fear death. I don't know if that's the reason why some people would choose themselves over their kid, but I don't think that many people are going to say that that's the reason, that they just don't want to die. But it's a huge motivating factor, I believe. You know what I'm saying? Like people view death in such a way, honestly, I view death as transitional, in that, you go somewhere where there is no more suffering. So I just view it differently, but most people have a fear of the unknown. Even here on earth, we have a fear of the unknown. So death is the biggest unknown that there is. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So yeah, people are gonna, they may say, hey, I'm doing it for X, Y, Z reasons, but the true motivation could be that they are afraid of death. But I'm not gonna, say that that's what it is in particular with certain people who you've talked to about this, whatever their motivations are, hey.
I want to say, I told him too, right? Because, he's from the hood, from the turf. I said, you know something? I said, you mean to tell me you was willing to die for the set, for the hood, for the gang? You was willing to die for the set, but you wouldn't die for your own kids. I said, if that ain't ass backwards, if that is not hypocritical, you would die for some land, some shit you don't own, for a hood that do all kind of shiesty ass shit to each other. You know what I'm saying? Some shit that didn't gave you nothing but trauma and hardships in your life. You willing to die for this magical thing that we, this mythical thing that we live by, that only exists amongst us people living in this bubble of, gangbang or whatever. You willing to die for the set, but you wouldn't die for your kids. I'm like, that's egregious. But, it's your boy CP. I appreciate your perspective on it. So there's no right or wrong answers. It's subjective. I just wanted to share my intake and comment on the video that I seen that lovely lady that posted.
I appreciate you bringing me on to discuss the topic, man. Hopefully I can be on some more videos with you and we can discuss some more things in regard, whatever topics you have. I'm willing to sit in, man. Let's talk about it. Yeah.
For certain. Signing off.
Peace.
Fall off, but I can't. I be laughing all the way to the bank.